Hello, everyone. We are back with the series of conversation around now the social sector. Today, we have Mr. Luis Miranda, and he has been a great leader in the sector, has spent around 33 years, and he is also the co-founder for Indian School for Public Policy. Welcome, Luis Miranda.
Thank you. Thank you, Mala.
So, thank you for your time for joining us. The next 20 minutes, those who are watching us will be driving the conversation around what is something there if someone is exploring career in social sector and specifically in public policy. And Luis already have a great exposure to the Indian public policy ecosystem. He has been the strategic advisor to so many organizations. And in 2018, he has co-founded the Indian School of Public Policy with the co-founder Bharat. So, Luis, great to have you. We wanted to hear the story of starting ISPP. What led you start ISPP, and why you feel there's a great need of having such institutions?
So thank you, Mala, and thanks for this conversation. So I guess it all starts off with Parth Shah, my co-founder, who started an organization called the Center for Civil Society 20 odd years ago. And it was really to teach young people about public policy and the impact of policies on people's lives and how to look at, how these things impact everyone. I got to know him about 10 odd years ago. And one of the things that, we were talking over the years was we've been very successful running a short-term program in public policy. Over the weekend, we call it iPolicy Now. And it's impacted over 10,000 young minds. And it's interesting that whenever I travel anywhere in the world, I'll invariably, at least once a quarter, come across someone who comes up to me and says, I was a CCS intern, or I attended a program, or I worked at CCS, and that changed my life. So Parth said, why don't we look at doing a one-year program? So the first thing we asked ourselves was, are there jobs? But there's no point creating a program if there are no jobs. You've been in the social sector for a long time, and you've got to, at the end of the day, pay bills. So we realized it wasn't ready yet. And then in 2018, we realized that, okay, maybe the time has come now, that there are job opportunities for people in public policy. So let's start this. I personally have been a big beneficiary of changes in public policy. I came back to India after my MBA in 1989, and then in 1991, the economy opened, which was a big public policy initiative. And it created, in fact, I keep telling people, we are the lucky generation here because we really lived in that space, which created opportunities for us, which our parents didn't have, and our kids have a lot of other issues, climate, etc. So we were the lucky generation. So that was 91. Then in 94, I had a chance to start a private sector bank in India, which was, again, a chance to, because of changes in public policy, and they allowed private sector banks in the country. And I was part of the starting team at HDFC Bank, which today is the 4th largest bank in the world, which is a phenomenal story.
Right.
And then in 2002, I had a chance to start IDFC Private Equity because the government wanted to see more private sector investment in infrastructure. And we changed the infrastructure story in India, backing some of India's largest entrepreneurs today in the sector, the Manipal Group, GMR, Ashoka Bilcon, etc. So I've been a beneficiary of it. And I said, why don't we sort of, help others also based on these lessons? Love it.
Great. I mean, while I went through your journey, starting from my HDFC, IDFC, and then few other stint, also working with Metha, Sneha, and so many organizations. So it's for the generation that those who want to get into social sector. It's also a great space to learn from leaders like you. So my next question is, what is something that the Indian School of Public Policy offer in terms of the program is designed for a year. So what is, if you can speak a bit about the program design and what does it offer?
Sure. So we had a lot of discussions when we were starting up. How do we design the program? Because design is such a key part of public policy. And there's something which we said we will focus on. One is we have to be in Delhi, because that's where the seat of public policy is. Not that the states are not important, and the states are important, and we encourage people to go work in the states also. And we are actually doing training for some of the state governments. But yeah, we said we'll be based in Delhi. We wanted to we had a discussion about 1 or 2 years, and this was partly regulatory. So we said, let's do a 1-year program. And actually, it makes it easier for people to get out of the workforce for 1 year as opposed to get out of the workforce for 2 years. So it is a tight program. It is a lot of work over here because we're trying to cram in a lot of stuff which we otherwise would have done in 2 years. So it is a hectic program. When we look at what else do we do that's unique about ISPP, we have, in my view, the best faculty in the country. The faculty is just fabulous. They're experts in their field. We focused on, we have flexibility in designing program because we're not tied down by any of some of the regulatory concerns. So we can sort of, adapt to what we want to do. We have a certificate. Our students also get a certificate in public policy and international development from the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy. We're the only school in the country which gives them a certificate also from a top grade public policy school globally. We offer a wide breadth of products, which gives our students a chance to expose themselves to a larger audience. We do executive education. This year, interestingly, one of our professors, Krishna Ladda, did a session. We did a training program for one of the leading motor companies in the country. And we had 4 of our students discuss a case study on Chrysler, which they had studied in class. They discussed it with these large, with the senior corporate members of this company. So things like that we offer them. We work with the government. We're developing case studies. And our students, again, are involved in developing some of these case studies for the government. And we also have a hybrid model. So it's the fact that because we've got this wide breadth of products, which again, no other school has, we're able to give our students exposures to different type of constituencies also. And we also have our ability to sort of, we run this intensive learning programs where they go and spend time with an organization to understand more about how public policy helps them. So that's it. And finally, it's our focus on placements. We started off from, I told you about how we needed to place them. And that's important. So, we've done well in that also. But this year is a bit of a challenge. But otherwise, we've had a fabulous run where we've been able to place 100% of our students every year, including the COVID time. So that's really what we've been able to achieve and what makes this program unique. We look for people who are interesting. We've had this big discussion. Should we look only at the grades? Should we look at it? We look at it a basket of factors. There could be people who are without experience, come straight from college. There could be people with extensive experience. And I'd love to later on tell you some of the stories of some of our alumni and how they've gone out and done fabulous stuff here. I mean, they're really the shining stars of our place here.
Right, Mr. Lewis. So the question that you have picked up and the kind of exposure, the diversity that classroom brings. I have a follow-up question, which is around you spoke about placement, 100% placement. And now with the kind of information that youth have, and then maybe these information around more on career pathways in the public policy. So, and then wanted to learn from you, what is the future of career in public policy? Because that's something that the burning question that every young people who wanted to get into public policy wanted to understand, because there are so many, technology changing, the way government function, that the way every day there are new policies that coming, there are discussions, there are thoughts and debates. So wanted to understand, what do you see around the future of public policy careers?
Sure. Actually, let me go back to talk about, why, first of all, you need to study public policy. So Parth has this lovely story there. If you give someone a fish to eat, that's charity. If you teach someone to fish and then they can go out and fish, then that's skilling. But if, on the other hand, you create frameworks, policies that enable people to, on their own, decide, I want to fish, I want to go out over there, I want to supply boats for the fishing, I want to sort of train people for fishing, etc. You create a whole system which makes it automatically available for people to do it. That's what public policy is. And that's the impact. You sort of create the market for it, which makes everyone on their own want to do it, as opposed to trying to sort of, do charity or skilling. We just create it where everyone automatically goes and does it. So where do we see public policy? So we actually did a pro bono exercise with McKinsey some time back, and about the future of this opportunity in public policy. And it's interesting. I think the way I see it is, public policy will be what the MBA program was 40 years ago. I think it's going to be a huge amount of change, because today the young people they want to have better lives. I'm not saying they shouldn't have a good material life also, but you're concerned about more things than just making money. And that's what public policy lets you do. It gives you a chance to sort of make changes that are sustainable. And as I gave the example of the fish, which automatically then creates opportunities for everyone. So I see that as the huge opportunity. When we started ISPP, we defined it with two purposes. One was to democratize public policy in India, which meant that we make it accessible. Earlier, you had to go overseas to study, or you had some programs in India which weren't necessarily cutting edge. So that was one, to democratize it. And secondly, it was to create capacity in Samaj Sarkar Bazaar. Because each of these sectors, they don't have it. So we've done executive education programs for large corporates about the need to work with the government efficiently. We've done programs for the government on what is public-private partnership, what is, how do you sort of look at M&E, etc., things like that. And obviously, with the private sector and the social sector, a lot of alumni have gone in over there and had very fascinating careers over there.
Great. So that's also put some belief that those who are exploring career in public policy, there's a huge demand, and that's also space where you can work on sustainable changes, sustainable policies, and also the career pathways are there. Now, I have another interesting question, and always while we look for career in any kind of job or role or career, we look for role models. If you have any story of alumni which you wanted to share with the listeners.
Oh, I would love to. This is my favorite part, talking about what our alumni are doing here. So there's let me look at some of the alumni that I'd like to talk about. Okay, one is a guy called Himanshu Burad. He was in our founding batch, the class of 20. We call that the founding batch. And while the batch was in its final months, COVID hit. So he went and then the Ministry of Health asked us if we can send some of our alumni, some of our students, to work in the COVID war room. And he went. And his family was a bit worried because, COVID's happening, you're going and working as opposed to staying at home, etc. But he decided to go for it. Right. And it's been now more than 3 years. 3 years. He was in the COVID war room, and now he's in OSD with the National Health Authority. Before coming to us, he worked with IIT Varanasi and is an engineer. But that's an example of how he's persisted in the health space and transitioned into playing a very interesting role in healthcare. Another alumnus would be Pankuri Jain. So Pankuri graduated last year in the class of 22. She was a fresher. She had no work experience before she joined us. And she was very clear that she wanted to work as a LAMP fellow with PRS. And so she got a stipend. She had the distinction of being the lowest paid person in her graduating class. She wanted to work in the Northeast. She was assigned a member of parliament from Shillong. And she has then taken that on. And now she's got a World Bank assignment working in Shillong, where she now is possibly one of the highest paid members of her class. So, she took the risk. She pushed all of us. She she would challenge us to help her with this introduction, that introduction. And she just kind of, and all she done before joining us was a BA. And I mean, she didn't have work experience. And she's had this fabulous role because of her dedication and hard work. Another guy is Saurabh Mishra, who was the class of 22. He went to work with that's the last year. He went to work with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And he now is a consultant to the minister, Hardeep Singh Puri, and works closely with him on, on various issues, writing papers for him, etc. Then there's Gunjita Agarwal, who's graduating tomorrow. And she got the All India rank in the UPSC exam she got the rank of 26. She again studied a BCom and now is going to be joining she's our first alum to go and join the UPSC exam. And we're all excited for her. And then I guess the final name I would think of, that I can go on and on and on here, is Umesh Jadhav. So Umesh Jadhav did a lot of work. He's an engineer. He worked with, he was interested in the social space. Last weekend, my wife and I were in Gadchiroli with the Bungs at Search, and he had worked there for 2 years, done a fabulous job. He also worked with the village transformation framework. He worked in the private sector for a couple of years also after his father passed away. And now he's part of the University of Chicago International Innovation Co. in UP, working on health administration with the UP Technical Support Unit. So that's the type of people who've gone out over there. I mean, let's face it, our first batch graduated only in 2020, so it's a young batch. But some of their stories is just fabulous. And that actually, if you notice from my enthusiasm, this is what makes it really worth it when I hear what they've done.
And I mean, Himanshu Burad's story also, I mean, we also heard 2-3 months back. They also posted, and this story was very inspiring. Having Himanshu and Gunjita and so many more people who are into public policy and shaping the country's policy ecosystem. It's a great service to country also, that what ISPP is doing. My follow-up question for those who are watching is, if someone is interested into public policy and they wanted to join the ISPP, one need to understand what the fee structure look like, and those who actually need some kind of scholarships, what are the opportunity, so that they also learn. And then if those who can't afford, what are the financial opportunities are there, so that they can afford the program.
So our cost is 8 lakhs. We're not cheap, and this cost doesn't cover our cost. Our cost is much more here, but it's an investment we funded through philanthropy. We should have been, in a more comfortable situation, but during COVID, the whole world changed. So we also were a COVID casualty from that, since our class didn't ramp up the way it should have. But it's 8 lakhs plus GST. What's also interesting is that the average starting salary is more than that. So it does. I mean, from an ROI perspective, you're able to recover that pretty fast. In terms of scholarships, we're very clear that we want to make it affordable for people who can't afford it. And we do have scholarships, but we have limited scholarships, and it's in part of it, and it's and we have been giving out scholarships right from when we started to make it affordable for people to come over here and study. We don't want the lack of money to be necessarily a reason for it, and that's so we do. Our next batch starts in a couple of weeks.
Great. I think, Louis, looking at the structure of this interview, I mean, we generally keep this kind of conversation for 15 minutes, but I think we should have more conversation to know more about ISPP and what does it offer. Definitely, there are stories. There are every Saturday, there are in-campus conversation that the campus is hosting and inviting speakers. We have been following them. So every Saturday, there are people from industry, from the sector coming, talking and giving that exposure. Not even those not part of ISPP also, they can also join those guest sessions. So my last question to the and then in the conversation, my last question is: you have spent good time in the public policy in India and abroad, and you bring so much exposure. One advice for those that you wanted to share, those who want to start their career in public policy.
I want to actually relate to a story which was written in International Infrastructure Investor magazine. When I quit private equity at an IDFC in 2010, and there was an article written about me which said that I was part of the infrastructure revolution, and before that I was part of the private sector banking revolution. I think if you join a career in public policy today, you're going to be part of that public policy revolution. And I think that's what the excitement is. There's a lot happening in the country. The government wants to make change. The Prime Minister wants to do a lot of different things. You need to have capacity to do it. And if you join a place like ISPP, you can be part of that public policy revolution, the way that I was part of the infrastructure and private banking revolution in the past day.
Great. This is very insightful thought that you have said, and definitely this is going to help so many youth, those who are watching this interaction. And we would be having more such interaction with ISPP, specifically Louis, you, because you bring that the other side also beyond public policy. You have spent good time in the social sector ecosystem globally. So it was a great conversation talking to you, understanding what do you do, what ISPP do, and we look to have you again sometime soon. So thank you so much, Louis.
Thank you, man. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you.